Hello, and once again, we're back to the WGXC Afternoon Radio Show. And as promised, as we mentioned at the beginning of the show, in our new format, we have music and business. And on the business front, I am very pleased to introduce Jason Benitez. He's Vice President of Talent and Inclusion for the Capital Region Chamber. We met at a couple of chamber events, and this gentleman knows a lot about how to help minority and women-owned businesses, as well as the functions that the chamber can do to assist them. Jason, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate you having me on, and it's a pleasure to be invited to your show today. So thank you.
It's a new year, and a lot of businesses have been experiencing a reorganization. Because of COVID, because of communities being shut down, and a lot of businesses, unfortunately, struggling with transitioning, especially minority businesses. What are your thoughts on what businesses can do and what the chamber might be able to do to help them, and kind of different things out there to cope with this environment?
Yes, thank you for that. 2020 really uncovered a lot for us. I think it revealed some of the disparities that many of us knew existed for a long time. But, throughout the darkness of 2020, there were glimmers of light. And what I would say one of the glimmers of light is that the events of not only the
Mhm.
pandemic, but also the George Floyd murder and other murders this summer really elevated the conversation within organizations. I've noticed just a more robust conversation happening. I've noticed a conversation around matters of diversity, equity, inclusion happening at levels within organizations where it wasn't happening before. So I think this, 2020 offered a real awakening, so to speak, not only for some of our social issues, but as well as some of the economic disparities that exist. So I would like to
Mm.
think that, going into 2021, we're seeing a renewed commitment, a renewed vision on how we can really operate in a more equitable fashion. And when I say that, I think on an individual level and how we treat each other, on an
Right.
organizational level, on how businesses and organizations are representing, or are they including, are they reflective of the communities they're serving, but also on a regional level, looking at life outcomes, whether it's economics, education, healthcare, and how we can really um, bring some traction to the work that's being done to level those playing fields. So we at the chamber, are very proud that we had already been working on diversity, equity, and inclusion before 2020, but
Right.
again, 2020 really highlighted and illuminated the need for this continued work. So we have about 2,900 businesses in our membership, representing over 160,000 employees in our region, and that membership is diverse in many ways, and we're just continuing to look for ways to support that, to strengthen that, to look for best practices, whether it's hiring, whether it's helping businesses with immediate needs. So it was great to see that another round of PPP is going to be approved for businesses that are struggling, and
Yes.
we also have advocacy. So we have a VP of Government Relations that bouncing back from COVID as well as equity are the two main advocacy agenda items this year for the chamber. So you can kind of count on the Capital Region Chamber to be even increasingly involved in this work in not only helping our member businesses economically with immediate needs, but also kind of leading the way and leading the charge as far as best practices moving forward. So we have a number of services, specific to minority and women-owned businesses.
Now, when we met at your
Yes, sure.
office,
Yes.
one of the things that I loved about the services that you guys have offered, and your job in particular, is that when we talk about equity
Mhm.
and diversity, you actually help businesses develop a policy of inclusion, where they can actually start to look at their positions and how to really integrate those positions, and seeing if they're really being reflective of their community. And I love the fact that that's a dedicated position in the chamber.
Yes. This position emerged, my position that I hold emerged from a need. We were hearing from our member businesses that they wanted more diversity within their applicants
Right.
pools. So it emerged, I would say, from a talent perspective of helping our businesses with more diverse talent. But as you know, and as we all know, and as 2020 continued to reveal, is you can't unmarry the economic and the social issues. So I think that
Right.
while the position emerged more from a talent perspective, increasingly we're also looking at best practices as it relates to diversity, equity, and inclusion. So whether it's highlighting undertapped segments of talent, whether that be immigrants, individuals with an incarceration record, folks with a disability, the LGBTQ community,
Mhm.
that's one of the ways in which we assist businesses is to maybe have them think about their talent engagement and outreach in a different way, maybe expose them to best practices in engaging an undertapped talent pool that they haven't considered previously, but that are ready to go and ready to contribute in meaningful ways. So I think that those are some of the ways in which we assist companies in reimagining both the workforce and their talent pipeline, as well as the actual environment in their workplaces.
You know, a lot of businesses say, they want to be diverse and more inclusive, but as you say, they try the same things. They try the same outreaches and the same methods, and then they end up saying, well, we tried and we can't be more diverse because no one's responding. And I like the fact that by showing businesses alternative ways that they can reach out intentionally and purposefully to build a more diverse workforce and talent pool, that they can in fact reach these populations that are underrepresented in their business.
Yes, I think we can't let businesses get off the hook by just saying, well, those are the folks who applied, and we're just not getting anybody from that X population to apply.
Right.
That means they're not looking hard enough, or they're not working hard enough, or they're not crafting their position descriptions and posting them on websites that will reach different audiences. So this is where we come in and help coach. What are the journals that you're posting? Are you only posting on Indeed or those websites, or
Right.
are you looking at what we consider more niche kind of networks to post your job openings? Have you done some internal work reflectively to make your workplace more ready to receive different types of people? Because that's another big part of it when we talk about youth in the workforce. Our younger population is really looking at organizations to have certain characteristics, and if they don't have that, then it's not going to align well. So I think part of it is kind of a rethinking and doing away with older, more traditional ways of recruiting and getting more creative. And a lot of this has to do with forging relationships, and sometimes that's the part that takes time. If a certain
Right.
business or sector just hasn't had a strong relationship with a certain portion of our community, then maybe some effort needs to be put into do marketing, do some listening sessions, do some focus groups to really listen to that community and what their needs are, but also what they can bring to the table, and then try to utilize that knowledge to craft, whether it's marketing a position or another way to just attract different talent to your organization. Those are some of the ways in which we work with and kind of coach different companies to think outside of the box.
So in your opinion and in your experience, when companies engage in these sort of different ways to do outreach, is that successful? Can they find employees that are more representative of the community when they do these things?
I think that results can vary
Okay.
on what actually happens. I think sometimes the technical skills that are needed in a certain sector might, right off the bat, kind of shorten the pool of available candidates. So I think it varies, but I would say that those companies that are committed to acknowledging that opportunities haven't been equitable, B, are willing to do the consistent work to try to better that situation, and then C, really just stay engaged and understand that the fruit may not yield right away, but that you as an organization just thinking about this issue differently and trying something different already is effort pointing in the right direction. So what I would say is that, yes, we have seen some success in companies that maybe, didn't consider reaching out to a certain population or didn't consider advertising in a certain journal or area, and then they've done so, and it's yielded a great, hire for them. And that just then hopefully opens the door to the more you diversify your network and your staff, then the more diverse of a network, a larger network that you can start to tap into. So I would say that again, I think that the actual results vary, but those companies that are willing and committed to continue to do this know that it's consistency and baby steps, and that it can lead to giant leaps. I think those are the companies that are going to be successful. So those companies that are less resistant to change, that are willing to do the work, and that are willing to take a real look in the mirror organizationally, are those that are going to fare better, moving forward with advancing equity.
I totally agree. And I think that the companies that are proactive and have a diverse staff are going to be more competitive. They're going to be more easily able to integrate with the different population mixes that are emerging in society. And they're going to be more resilient as a company as a result of their diverse personnel that can take in different cultures and understand what's happening and not just have such a sort of myopic view about business and life and culture and community.
Absolutely, absolutely. There are numerous studies that show that more diverse teams impact the bottom line in a positive way.
Yeah.
When a company is facing a problem and solutions need to be generated, more diverse teams tend to bring different ideas and different perspectives and can brainstorm ideas in a more robust way. And as you mentioned, visible representation matters, right? So people that are looking for a job and are looking to align themselves with a certain company may often go on that company's website and see what that website speaks to them and how it speaks to them. And does somebody that looks like them, is somebody that looks like them reflected on the website or part of the staff? And what companies then need to understand is that matters. So like to your point, the more you bring in diverse folks, not only is it affecting your bottom line, but it's also positively impacting your ability to now resonate with different sectors of our community.
Absolutely. If you walk into a business and you just see just sort of a monolithic culture, it has, I think, an effect on the consumer. And if they can't see themselves represented within, whether your sales force or your outbound tech force or whatever, then I think that it may, for many customers, be a negative.
Yes.
It create a negative impression.
Yes, absolutely. So the chamber is actually one initiative. The Community Foundation for the Greater Capital Region is leading this charge. It's called the Catalyst for Change Initiative, and essentially what it is we. And the chamber is part of the steering committee, but essentially they did a study that showed that not-for-profits, even not-for-profits that are serving underrepresented communities, when you get to the board level of those organizations, it's still very male and still very white. So there's very little diversity on the board. So this initiative is going to be an 8-week program where a cohort of diverse individuals have applied and have already been selected, and they're going to be trained for 8 weeks on how to serve on a board. And towards the end of that process, boards that are looking to diversify are going to be introduced, and there'll be a little bit of a matchmaking. So the idea is that, we're giving these folks, diverse folks, the information and resources that are going to need to be successful board members. And then we're going to kind of send them out into these board, to serve on these boards.
The chamber itself has a lot of programs. We met, among other things, talking at MWBE conferences, and I went through the process. I was certified many years ago. I came back, I moved, I came back, I recertified. It took a little while, but it was a great thing to be a certified minority business enterprise. Can we talk about the two aspects of kind of how you guys get involved in helping people get certified, and also the other services that you offer to women and minority businesses?
Yes. So New York is one of the most regulated states to do business. So, putting aside the minority and women-owned business part of it, just to do business in general, New York
Mhm.
is one of the most regulated states. So it's often said that it's a tough state to do business. So I think a part of that challenge, and particularly to the minority and women-owned, is navigating the process. There are tons of forms. There are all this data that you need to show there, and it can be daunting, particularly when you look at the fact that some of these minority and women-owned businesses are usually single, very often a family-owned or single proprietor business. So it's how do you, get all your ducks in a row with the paperwork for the state, but also kind of get your business off the ground, and that can be a little bit much for folks. So that's where we come in. We
How well
have,
I know.
um, you know, um, we are a let's see, I'm going to kind of take some, we have a VP, Laura Mann, of business growth, and she's very much involved in this process, but she can help, and she has contacts, on the legislative end. She has contacts at the state, to understand this process of MWB certification and helping our members navigate through that. So she can sit down and make sure that give you direct service as far as like sitting down and making sure that your paperwork looks like it's on point, that she's aware of maybe some of the things that may have slow up the paperwork process and how to avoid
Mhm.
that. So filling out, the Capital Region Chamber can help guide through that process. For MWBEs, it must be 51% owned and controlled by the minority member or the woman. That's just at least a quick kind of stipulation. But we are on the business of really providing direct consultation at times. So Laura is a phenomenal resource. And then once you're in that kind of network, so to speak, you can kind of lean on the chamber for some of our other resources that are available to anyone. And that's, Business U, that's like a series of professional development workshops for your business on different topics, ranging from marketing to leadership to finances, and how to, for folks that may not know how to read a financial statement. So we have a number of resources, not only to help you get certified, but also once you are certified and we walk you through that process, to assist you in growing and flourishing your business. So, I
And
could.
those are very good. I think Laura led or at least did a good portion of a workshop that I attended there.
Yes,
Very
yes.
informative. You had people from the state there.
Hmm.
But I just think that the attention to detail to go through all of the sort of questions and preparations for certification, and it is voluminous, but it is worth it. And one of the things I realize is that a lot of the certification program comes out of the mindset of the construction technologies,
Yes.
where where I think that ownership, especially in the early days, was they really wanted to vet who owned the business, because it was hard to get the capital to be a minority construction company, and there were a lot of
Hmm.
companies that did false fronts and pretended to serve in that way. So you guys, or the program itself, is very stringent upon proving what the ownership ratios are.
Yes. Some
But
people, unfortunately, yeah.
once you do that, it's not that laborious. I mean, you have to prove that you're an active business and do all the
Right.
things that you would do as a business, but I would encourage every business to do that, because it's completely worth it.
Yes, and being certified and designated as a certified minority or women-owned business then bears with it a certain number of benefits. So, you mentioned construction, and historically, yes, I think, that was where the MWBE kind of push came from. But with construction, for example, I believe, I don't know the exact figures, but certain states, including New York, have stated that any new construction that's happening on the state level or for the
Mhm.
state building, there's a requirement that the RFPs have to be from a certain number of minority or women-owned businesses. So it's kind of ensuring that when a company is looking to bid or bid out some services, that it's ensuring that minorities and women-owned businesses have a seat at that table to at least be considered. So that's one of the benefits, but there are several others.
Yeah, and
So,
that's billions and billions of dollars.
yes, we're not talking chump change, when you
Yeah.
think about, some of the state contracts like the SUNY campuses. Those are all state buildings, and how much construction, happens on those campuses on an annual basis, whether it's refurbishing or new construction. So, it's really in the business owner's best interest, although seemingly a little bit, intimidating to push through that process and get certified. We would highly recommend it.
Yeah, and I think you're a better business as a result of the process because it makes you do certain things that you wouldn't necessarily do otherwise. And as a business owner, you might be great at your particular speciality of business, but to be successful in business, you have to be good at the business of doing business.
Correct.
And so this discipline kind of helps you to sort of dot your I's and cross your T's so that you can really be competitive. And one of the things that came out of my training is that a lot of these companies they're looking to give big contracts. And so as a minority business, you might think you're thinking maybe on a scale that's wholly and completely small as compared to the money that's truly out there. Yes. And so if you're once you get yourself together and get financing and things positioned so you can scale your business, there are literally in the state there are billions, but in the capital region certainly millions, hundreds of millions of dollars of opportunity dollars out there that are just waiting for companies to position themselves to take advantage of accessing these contracts.
Yes, and I think that's to the very spirit of why MWBEs, have been classified as a certain special business class. Is that I think it was is a public kind of recognition and acknowledgement that some of these sectors have been so dominated by a certain group or a certain gender for so long that if left just to them to kind of open up the doors of inclusion to others, it's not going to happen. So the state kind of is saying that, we need to do better in this space. We need to broaden the opportunity. And we hope that those that are achieving the certification are beginning to see some of the benefits of that. And like you mentioned, there are, even through COVID and through pandemic, there's still a lot of opportunity out there and a lot of dollars, frankly, to be had. So if we can help our businesses in a more equitable way be positioned to go after those contracts and those bids, then we just think it's a win-win because it's helping our economy, but it's also making sure that opportunity is being expanded in an equitable way.
Absolutely. And, I believe that, successful Black businesses help strengthen and maintain neighborhoods. When you talk about equity and inclusion, these businesses hire minorities, the people who look themselves and others. They shore up the retail space, so you don't have, urban blight where you just have, businesses and not to say that this is maybe controversial, but, some businesses that move in to a neighborhood may look at it as in a predatory way, where businesses that represent that community are going to look at that their business and their functions very holistically.
Yes.
And they sponsor the teams, they buy ads, there's the business, the dollars circulated become
Correct.
much greater and stay in the community longer.
Right. And I think that's another big point is that, we hope that the MWBE also is like a little bit of a network within itself, is that you begin to know others that are going through the process, others that maybe have achieved the status. But you're right. I think that very often businesses from people of color or minority-owned businesses, there's a particular ethos to how they're going to operate. And that ethos usually, what I've seen, involves a understanding of the need of community, of giving back, of keeping the opportunity and the dollars within, and uplifting, if they can, a whole neighborhood. So I think it's vital, that we expand the MWB certification, expand the number of businesses that are operating in that space, and the chamber is ready to continue to be a resource to help with that, because we think that business ownership and then obviously, the ability to hire is two of the ways in which we're going to achieve greater equity in a quicker way, is if we can help, our local folks you know, realize that dream that they've had of a business or opening a business and supporting them. So it's a win-win all around. You know, it's a win-win to the bottom line, but I think it also, as you said, it kind of enhances that sense of community, so to speak, and supporting each other. And you know, you see a lot of like buy local, stay local, and I saw
Right.
this year a lot of like buy from black owned, buy from black owned. You know, so there's a community that begins to develop within that space.
You know, and sometimes, I mean, I think the takeaway that I would hope that people get, our listening audience, is to support Black businesses, number one. You know, when you make a conscious decision when you're buying or sourcing products or services to say, am I considering the full marketplace? And am I considering people that are in my community that can help me? And so that's number one. And then for entrepreneurs to take advantage of these services, get in business. And, you know, sometimes I have to say, you might have to do a little bit more searching for Black businesses. You know, we have a business directory that can help people. The Hudson Valley Black-owned Business Directory can help people find businesses, but sometimes you have to kind of really look. But once you make that connection, then it's a great connection, because, you know, I come from that. I'm a little older than you, you know, but we have a guy. You know, you have a guy that does your car and a guy that does your windows, and you know, you need a guy that, you know, and so you want that, you know, your list of resources, go-to resources, you want them to reflect your cultural, your own cultural sort of ambitions.
Yes,
in terms
absolutely.
of, you know, who you're supporting. Look at who you're supporting.
I think our consumers in general, not just in the capital region, but in general, and I think this year highlighted it, but consumers are being more conscious of where they're choosing to spend, how much they're choosing to spend, at which companies they're choosing to support. And I think that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think, you know, raising awareness on a company's track record with the environment is one, you know, on a company's track record with supporting diversity and inclusion, you know, those kinds of things. And I've noticed I worked in higher ed for many years before coming to the chamber, that particularly the younger generation, I mean, they're coming into the marketplace, coming into, you know, the age of adult consumerism, really with a keen eye for like who they're going to support, who they're not going to support, where they're going to put their money. And so I think our consumers are being very much more conscious. And we're even seeing that, you know, again, with the push to kind of buy local or stay local, you know, spend local, buy Black, you know, to support those companies that kind of represent, again, going back to that term ethos, that represent the ethos that can align with yours.
Well, I'm gonna like you to come back at some point real soon. And man, I knew this is probably gonna be a two-part interview. And I know that your time is short today. Can do you have time to mention some of the programs that you want people to know about that your organization runs, and ways that they can get a hold of you and participate in those programs?
Absolutely. So we have a number of, whether they're business type councils, we have a number of events that we host every year. We have a number of initiatives that go on. So there's some work that's behind the scenes that folks don't see. So in particular, I kind of have a group called the Inclusive Talent Exchange Group, and it's a group of HR professionals with some diversity, equity, and inclusion practitioners, and they're there to kind of advance ideas and be kind of cross-pollinate the ideas. And as we move forward with HR and talent development, how can we do that, you know, infusing a diversity kind of perspective? So we have councils that folks can get involved in. We have committees that you can get involved in. We have a Leadership Tech Valley program that's geared toward younger professionals and really exposing them to all that the capital region has to offer, both from a business perspective, but also, you know, laying down roots and starting a life here. We host the Talent and Inclusion Summit annually in the fall, which is, again, really tries to promote best practices around diverse talent engagement. So that was in September, and it was very successful. I think there would be a lot to kind of rattle off today, but I think the best thing that I can do is say, take a look at our website, capitalregionchamber.com. If you go to the staff page on that website, it lists all of our staff members' direct contact information. So you're not going to hit necessarily a receptionist. You'll be able to get, directly to that person. So if folks wanted to reach out to me about things that we're doing, I was recently invited to be on a council for equitable vaccine rollout. So as the vaccine begins to roll out, how can we ensure that the rollout is being done in an equitable way? So I think not only are you going to see the chamber continue to advance, economic and business related issues and initiatives, because that's obviously what's going to help our region prosper. But we're at this point where you can't ignore the social issues as well, because that has an impact. So so we host events. We have councils. We have annual events. We have one-off events. If one of our chamber members wants to create an idea for an event, we can do that. I think the digital format that we're in arguably allows things to happen a little bit quicker as far as organizing an event, because folks don't have to travel, or we don't have to worry about feeding. So I think that just staying engaged is a big part of it. I think I'd ask folks who haven't taken a look at us at the chamber in a while to do so. Maybe not to kind of look at the chamber we were 5-10 years ago, but look at the chamber in who we are today and where we're pointed and in the direction we're rowing in. And that includes a number of our services as well as what we're doing. So just today I was looking at our Business U, which is our kind of professional development for businesses, and looking at the offerings there, and that's going to roll out soon. So that's a great way for our members to kind of look at. There's one on marketing, there's one on workplace wellness, from a diversity perspective. So it's really just being a resource in any way we can to our member businesses in our region, to help them thrive economically first and foremost, but also thrive in every sense of the word. So I'm happy to come back for a part 2 and maybe think a little bit more specifically about programs that I can share. But I would say that we're in a partnership with the Capital Region BOCES and some of our school districts here, which is trying to expose works in the high school, and it gives them experiential opportunities. And it really, that's our pipe. We're working on the pipeline, so to speak, getting a diverse mix of people in the pipeline early so that they're better prepared to take on positions when they're of age to do so. So this is it's called a P-Tech program, and it really, again, exposes our high school students to experiential hands-on experiences as far as STEM fields. And the great benefit is that these students work, by the time they graduate high school, they will have nearly achieved an associate's degree at SUNY Schenectady or Hudson Valley. So it's a partnership between the Chamber, Capital Region BOCES, and a couple of our local institutions of higher ed. So again, those are some great things that if folks didn't take the time to dig and really ask questions and know, they might not understand or realize that some of those things are going on. But we're here, we're working on it, and we are aware that as we move forward and try to advance prosperity for our region, that we have to do so in a way that really brings everyone in our region along for that ride.
Well, and I thank you for the good work that you do. It's a short ride from Hudson. I'm in Hudson up there. I've been at the chamber a number of times for your events. Many of your events are free. The ones that are not free, I think, are low cost or free to chamber members. So there's all sorts of ways to engage. And, I thank you, Jason, and we will definitely have you back. Thank you for taking the time to talk to our audience, and thank you for the good work that you're doing.
My pleasure, sir. Good luck to you for the new year. Keep doing what you're doing, getting more eyes and ears on these issues, and the great work that you're doing with that business directory. And that's something that we'd be happy to share with members up here and put on our website. So keep up the great work, and I'd be happy to come back whenever you would like to have me.
Thank you, Jason. We're going to give you a regular spot.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Take care, my friend. I'll talk to you again soon.
All right, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Be well. Be well. Thank you.